is advised.
Hey everyone, this video is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering you a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial membership. All you need to do is go to audibletrial.com/bgunlocked. The link is in the description below, and now enjoy the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing a top 10 gateway games, which, if you're not familiar with that term, gateway is kind of like the gateway drug, where it's like these are the games that you play to get people away from reality and into drugs. No. No, it's basically people who are not hobbyist gamers, have never played anything like the games that I do on my channel, into the hobby. So they're typically extremely light games and not complex in any way. Which, if anyone knows like my top 10 games or a lot of games that are on my top 100, I don't have a lot of these. Like, this list was weirdly difficult for me because it's like, I feel like I can teach almost anyone any game without, but what I had to do for my list was I had to think of games that I could take over to my mom's house and be like, all right, we're playing this. Right. Because she's like the one person that I play games with that doesn't grasp a lot of them unless they're very simple. Because like my friends that I usually teach Great Western Trail to, they can grasp it pretty quickly. So
and I've spent the last several years, not as much now because my girls are teenagers and don't give a crap about board games, but I had to use these kind of games to teach them kind of as a stepping stone to get into the games that I really wanted them to be playing.
Yeah.
And then they ended up just being, because usually gateway games are going to be fast. They're not going to take. You don't have to have a long attention span to play them, and a lot of the bigger games that we play more. They're like, you can tell where these games are kind of the building blocks towards. They take these little parts are in bigger games, and expounded upon and added a lot more depth to them.
Yeah, that's true.
Stuff.
That's true.
Just to kind of...
because you could use these games to be like, oh, if you like this, then you'll like this one.
I use like Dinosaur Island. It's four games, but each one of those could be like a gateway.
It depends.
I mean, I'm not saying it's by itself, but that's kind of what
these kind of do.
Like, so this is how you do worker placement. This is how you do card drafting, and this is how
That's a good point. So, how did you structure your list? I went off of honestly how much I tried to do a combination. How simple the game was, and also how much I liked the game. So it's a little weird how my list
Mine's
is done.
Actually a lot like that too. This is the games that I kind of went by complexity.
Okay.
And by the ease of teaching them and how quick they were to kind of grok the rules and go with it,
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of a little combination of the two.
Yeah, awesome. I think we will have three crossover.
I have no idea because I know you don't like these kind of games very much. So
that's also true.
I'll say maybe two.
Maybe two?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because as we just found out, I don't really, and I don't say this to try and sound like I'm like an elitist or anything, but I don't really care for gateway games because I'm not a gateway player. And like I said, most of the people that I'm playing with, I can pull out Twilight Imperium and honestly teach them, and they can grasp it. I'm not playing with people who are younger than me or people, I don't have kids, so I'm not trying to teach my kids. I'm not going to daycares or trying to teach other people's kids. So.
Well, and you're going to find there's a cross section because, like the game we just finished playing that we'll talk about probably later. There's filler games. A lot of gateway games are filler games.
Sure.
So, they have their spot. If you have 20 minutes left of a game night and you want to throw down a quick deal, there's going to be a little cross section with those. True.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get started. I will start this one. And with an honorable mention, is actually and I will say all of these games I do like. I didn't just find like 10 games that I'm like gateway games. Yeah. So it's not that I hate all gateway. It's just they have to do something to keep me engaged because I mean, I don't always want to play a Vita Lasarda game. All right, guys, let's do another Vita. They're like, we don't like hanging out with you anymore. So anyway, my honorable mention is a fun game by Restoration Games called Fireball Island. Have you played Have you played Fireball Island? The old original one? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't know how different those two are.
It's funner, this new version from what I've seen in videos.
And so Fireball Island is a blast beer and pretzels game where you are controlling a character really with no special ability or anything, and you're just trying to go around the island and gather points, take a picture, gather some treasures, while also just like playing cards that allow you to like put like a ball in like the mouth and then knock people over and things like that. This game and all of these, for the record, I'm only doing base game. Like if it has any expansions, I'm not sitting here because like with Fireball Island, there are a bunch of expansions that can add some complexity. There's one that adds like a tiger that you like flick. There's one that adds bees. Yeah, and there's a pirate ship. So there's a lot more to it, but yeah, this one, it's very simple. It's like small set collection. You move around it's a 3D board, but you just move around and you roll and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna play this card that lets me move 6 spaces, and that's what I'm gonna do. It's just fun. Like the reason why it's an honorable mention is just because these other 10 are better. I think that also with the maybe the way it looks can feel more complex than it is, but I mean, with Restoration Games, it's very, very simple. Not a lot. That big box holds nothing. It's only big to fit the 3D board in there. So yeah, that's my number 11, Fireball Island.
All right, my number 11. It's the honorable mention because some people may not think it's a gateway game. Okay. I used it as a gateway game. We've talked about it on many lists.
Android Netrunner.
Nope. It's my wife's favorite game. It's the very first game I ever played with her, and was Seven Wonders.
Interesting. I don't see that as a gateway.
Well, and I did it because it was the first game I showed my daughters and my wife, and it picked up. There is a little bit of a symbol learning curve. So how I went about
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Is I just set the rule books on their side, and they just looked and read what they said. Yeah. I mean, is everything. It's a super simple game. Once you know the symbology, or you have it right there in front of you. Yeah. I used it as a gateway game, and that's the gateway game I introduced that we still play to this day. Right. That's why it's down, because I like that game a ton, but that's why I put it the honorable mention, because it's probably on this list, it's the most
complex.
Probably the one that takes the longest because of the symbols. Yeah. But once you get the symbols,
it's also the symbols and the fact that for me,
I'm talking base game too. I mean, when you start throwing
leaders and cities make it extremely a lot more complex. But yeah, base game Seven Wonders, I can see why you would think that. The reason why I didn't consider it, I don't even think I wrote it down as an option, is because of the symbols and because of that drafting. So unless you're helping them along the draft, they're not really going to know like what to grab, how that's going to combo with one another.
Well, and that's it was one of those things. Yeah, it took us a couple of games. We just, because it's such a fast game, we just play it. Yeah, and then we go, oh, that's how that works and stuff. And it wouldn't have made this list normally if I didn't use it. True. And have success with it. So that's why I put it on there. Okay, that deal. All right. Yeah. I mean, gateway. It's going to be. I mean, it really all depends on your audience. Yeah. Exactly. I would take Fireball Island to my mom's. I wouldn't take Seven Wonders. So it just depends on your audience. All right, to the actual list. This one, I think I probably did do complexity as well, because this one might be one of the most complex, and that is Sagrada. So Sagrada, I chose. You're like, you're an idiot. Well, no, I, for the same reasons you just said about Seven Wonders is why I didn't. I considered Sagrada, but then I was like, there's just too many. Like you'd have to really be watching.
There's two rules. Numbers can't be next to numbers.
But you'd have to really be making sure they didn't put a dice, because if they put a dice wrong at one point, you're not paying attention. Then it's
true. I mean, that's again, for anyone.
Again, it's the audience.
It's true.
I considered it. I just didn't.
Yeah. So with Sagrada, I think because it's base game, all you do is you sit there and you're like, okay, number of players. Okay, rolling that dice. Okay, now we draft. Okay, we take this one, and like if it was like Azul, I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't pick Azul really to be a gateway. But because Sagrada has literally the card that you slide in, it's right there. You can see, okay, a color has to go here, and a number has to go here. A color can't be next to the same color, and a number can't be next to the same number. That's it. That's all you have to remember about Sagrada.
Yeah.
There's the abilities, but there's only ever like 3.
Right.
That can be like, oh, this one lets me like place a die anywhere. Okay, like it's like I said, it's more complex because there is the drafting, and some people could get confused with like, okay, I can put this everywhere. But for me, Sagrada, I feel like I could take to anyone, and it's enough of a puzzle that it one keeps me engaged because I love this game. Like I would not put role player. Just that has way more to it. Sagrada is you're just putting dice in.
Like I said, I considered it, but because I did play this, and I ran into that instance where, we were playing. We have a bigger table, and I wasn't paying attention to what my daughter did, and her whole thing was completely screwed because if I have to sit there and like really watch, because if I played it with that game with my parents, they would. My dad might be okay with it, but my mom would just totally bomb.
Right.
But
it's
it
interesting.
depends on the audience. It's like what you said. It just depends on the deal.
Yeah.
I considered it, and I considered Azul. I didn't put either one of them on here.
Yeah. So that's my number 10, Sagrada.
All right, my number 10 is a restoration game as well.
Downforce.
Yep, Downforce.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's super simple.
Yeah.
You get your hand of cards, and when you play your card, you literally, the person that played the card can move.
Just follow the colors.
The yellow card that far, that one, you just move it that far. I mean, that's really all there is to it, and you just kind of run it through. There's no, I mean, you can game it a little bit by blocking somebody or whatever if you get it into it, but really it's just you don't have like Formula D, no way, because you're constantly
all the dice,
you're doing all the dice. So this one you just play card, move all the cards, and you just try to come in first.
I wonder if you can put really any restoration game on here. Because I thought of Fuse as well, but Fuse has the math in the real time.
Restoration games?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought it was
Renegade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Restoration. So I did think of Fuse though, for the record.
Yes.
It's not on the list. Yeah, I'm trying to think what other. Oh no, I keep thinking Renegade as well. I was like, oh, that Proving Grounds. Nope, that's.
Well, they're going to be doing the Dark Tower game. But that's gonna
with Isaac Childress. I back that. That's gonna be cool. Never played the original.
I did,
but
it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I really think you could probably take any restoration game though and use it as a gateway because they're restoring old games that were simple.
Yeah. But anyway, Downforce is just super simple. But probably the trickiest part of that whole game is just learning when you're picking the cards and spending the money. Learning how money works.
Yeah.
But that's pretty simple. You can talk it out pretty easy with stuff.
Yeah, and the game's pretty quick that if they don't get it, then it's like, okay, well, do you get it now? After one play, then you're like, okay, you might be dumb. No, I'm kidding.
But yeah.
And that was also basis. If anyone doesn't get any of my games, how to play them, they're just an idiot. No, that's not true. All right, my number 9 is, I'd be very interested if you even considered it. Because you hate this game, but for the list itself, it is Pandemic. Did you consider it? No,
because that game is difficult
to win,
to set up.
Like you're not for no. You're not set. You're not giving the game set it up.
I mean, it's just like it's.
I have played this game with Kat's parents.
Yeah, but it's a cooperative. And
exactly.
I mean, that's one.
And I actually don't have a lot of cooperative games on this list, which is funny enough. You would think, okay, Gateway cooperative, you can work with them. But a lot of Pandemic, base game, for the record, base game. And not any of the other iterations. Honestly, I haven't played Pandemic North America, but I watched Z's review over it. Basically, it's an even more simplified version. So probably that one, honestly. But you're right. Looking at Pandemic, you would immediately think that it's too complex. But because it's cooperative, you're not teaching any of these players to set up the game. So the player who owns it is going to be setting it up. And he just has to explain a few things. Okay, and here's your player card. Here's how you move. Yeah, it's the simplest way to move across the board. And you can help them if they want, or if they want the help. But I've never had this fail. It's hard to win.
Because my wife hates it too.
Really?
I mean, because I bought it, I had it for a while. We played because she likes being in the medical, and all that stuff.
Oh, right,
She'd
yeah.
like it. She hated it. She hates
bizarre.
cooperative games though.
Oh, gotcha. She
hates cooperative.
Brad, I think
games.
she just hates you.
No, she wants to be. She's competitive. She wants to.
She's like, I don't want to work with you.
She wants to play. Like I have one competitive or cooperative game on this list.
That's interesting.
And it's not even one that she really likes. It's just because I've used it at school.
You will get on the Brink expansion. Play with the terrorist. I'm totally kidding. That shit.
I'm not going to waste my money.
Don't blame you.
Pandemic, except for Defenders of the Realm.
Yeah. So Pandemic is. I think it's a good one. It's above Sagrada. I would probably say Pandemic's more complex than Sagrada, but because it's cooperative, I think it evens out. So that's my number 9. Pandemic.
My number 9. There are 3 versions, 3 types of games in this series. I haven't played that. This is it.
Oh, okay, great.
I haven't played the newest one because it doesn't look good.
Have I played the newest one? Oh,
you've played all 3 of them.
Oh,
We even actually played the second one a year or so ago. I was trying to decide between Forbidden Desert and Forbidden Island.
Okay.
I ended up choosing Forbidden Island as a gateway game.
Yeah.
Just because it's so much simpler.
Yeah.
I was trying. It's cooperative, so I was thinking, the Sand one, you could talk it out, even though it is a little more complex than.
Yeah.
But I ended up settling with Forbidden Island because it's flat out just. I've used it with my students at school when I've had stuff and everything. It's just a nice, simple.
That is true. I've actually never played Forbidden Island specifically for that reason because it was simpler than Desert.
Right.
And Sky is more complex than both of them, so that obviously makes more sense. I love Sky. I'm surprised it didn't do as well as I feel like it should have. But maybe people went in with that mindset. They thought, oh, okay, it's going to be a simple game like Desert or Island, and it wasn't, so it probably skewed people.
I think it was just the art and everything. It just, for some reason...
It doesn't look good.
Right. The other ones are so colorful and
and
stuff,
vibrant.
and maybe it just didn't catch me. I'm sure I'd like it if I played it because I liked the other 2. I just never...
Oh, yeah, okay.
I've never given it a shot.
It doesn't look the best. I think they tried to think, okay, well, we're going to try and do this electronic magnetic thing, so we're going to try to make that work and not really put a lot of effort. Forbidden Island is that's a really good choice. I could have thought Forbidden Desert as well, just because it is really just as simple, from what I understand.
But my wife hated those too, so that's why I'm going off of the students. I'm doing this with second and third graders when stuff like that,
that's true.
That's
a good point. You are a teacher, so you'll actually. Honestly, this is going to be one of those lists that probably your games are way better than the ones I chose. This list was difficult for me to come up with. All right. My number 8 is a game that I actually just played not too long ago, and it is a real-time game. However, the way that they do this real-time game make it extremely simplified, and that is Millennium Blades. So, no, I'm kidding.
I was sitting here, I was like, surely he's not going to say that. I was like, oh my god.
No. It's actually a 5-minute dungeon.
Oh, okay.
It's Millennium Blades.
I was like,
so
you have gone
simple.
crazy. You just need to stop the camera.
No, so 5-minute dungeon is as simple as really as any real-time game can get because the game lasts 5 minutes and everyone has a deck of cards that has symbols on it. That's it. And so as you're going through the dungeon deck, it's just like, okay, here's this card. He needs 2 arrows and a sword, and it's like, oh, okay, great. And you just like I've brought this one to parties multiple times, and people who don't play any kinds of these games, they were able to grasp even people's abilities, like their own special ability, where it's like discard 3 cards to destroy an obstacle, like no problem figuring it out. And because the game gets progressively harder, only in terms of like the boss and then how many cards are in the deck, nothing else changes like, you don't have to learn new rules. You don't have to jump into, like, okay, well, what does this boss do? It's just like, nope, okay, now we just have more cards to get through. Same amount of time, so it gets a little bit more hectic. But, yeah, this has always worked for any number of people, really. And whenever I can bring it to a lot of parties and have it succeed, I think it's a pretty good gateway.
Yeah. Yeah, I owned it, never really played it because real time,
and it's also cooperative, and apparently your wife hates you, so...
Yeah, I just never got to the table or anything, so... Alright, my number 8, I don't think you've played it. It is Karuba.
No, I've not played it.
Karuba is a very, very, very simple game.
That's a good one, though.
It's pretty much a bingo-esque game. Everybody has the same, I think, like 36 or 40, I don't know how many, of the same tiles that have paths and stuff on them. And at the very beginning of the game, you just kind of pick along the edges where you want the temples, and then you put along the edges where you want the same colored explorers, and then one person will pull a tile, say 14, and then everybody gets their tile 14, and they place it on their board somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you just keep doing that. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get this, like say, the yellow explorer to the yellow temple or whatever. Now, how you move your guys is if you have a tile that has, let's say, 3 paths going off. You don't have to place that. You can discard it and move your guy 3 tiles. That's how you move your guys. And there'll be like little gold ingots or diamonds as you're going. You pick those up as you're going and stuff too.
Yeah.
So, but it's super simple because everybody's just doing their own thing. There's no interaction.
Yeah.
You
don't have to talk to other people.
Everybody you just do it. You place it wherever it goes and just do it. I mean, it's super simple. There's a card game of a version of it. I don't know if it's any good or not, but
I have no idea.
But I got this one. It's always been really fun and easy to play.
Yeah, I've never played it. I think I would like it though, because even though it's like the concept of the game is extremely simple, it still has that puzzly aspect where it's like, okay, like I really need like a right left angle here. 3. Fuck. Yeah, okay, where am I gonna put this?
Right, and the thing is you're supposed to organize your tiles 1 to whatever over here. So you can see what's left, and it's just like, okay, I really 40, need that. I really need
40. 27.
Right.
Okay, where am I going to put? Yeah,
exactly. So it's a really fun game, as far as the ease of just getting right into it and going.
Right. All right. Good deal. My number 7, you might disagree with me on. But I feel like it works as a gateway because it takes ideas from a very, 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 very old game and just freshens it up, and that is Onitama. So
I don't think that's wrong.
Sweet.
I mean, you have a couple cards and you're...
That's really it, yeah. So Onitama, basically the very old game, it plays off of chess. But simplifies it extremely because you have five pieces, 2 pawns and a king, really. Both opponents have that, so you don't have to actually know anything about chess, and you have 2 cards that have patterns on it. And everyone on your side can use one of these patterns to actually move. So you don't have to even learn, okay, well, the knight does this, the bishop does this, the rook does this. The twist to it is really you just have to think kind of ahead and think of, okay, if I use this card, then that's going to swap it out with the one in the middle, which means my opponent will eventually get it. And so you have to look at it and be like, oh man, okay, how are they going to use the card that I might end up giving them?
Right.
That's really the only complex thing. But if you can understand chess or even just grasp any type of concept of chess, then you'll be able to jump to this. And I personally love this game. I don't like chess. So yeah,
that'd be a nice easy one.
Yeah, it's very simple, and the variety for the game is astronomical because there's so many different. Now there's also expansions for it. Obviously, ignoring that, base game Onitama I think is a really good gateway game.
I've only played it as the app. I've never played the physical version.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so. I mean, you could use it's just you're playing as an AI, so
yeah.
And the AI is way better than every human player.
Yeah, he beats me pretty hard.
Yeah, it's gross. I've tried. I think I'm decent. Like decently good at Onitama. Yeah, the AI wipes the floor with me. So that makes me feel pretty smart.
Yeah. All right, my number 7 is a gateway game for all those brainless people that like to play app games like Bedazzled and Candy Crush and all those things.
Okay.
And it's Potion Explosion.
That's interesting. All right, yeah, sure.
I mean,
if 40-year-old moms can figure out Candy Crush,
yeah,
they can figure out
you know,
Potion Explosion.
Potion Explosion, you're pretty much you're doing what every, you know.
I don't even know what those kinds of games are called.
I don't either, but I just like, you know, Bedazzled, Candy Crush, whatever you want to call them. But you just pick a marble, pull it, and any of them that clack together with 2 or more, you get to have all those, and it can cause chain reactions, and then you use those marbles to just put on the matching colors of the potions and finish them, you know. The trickiest part of this game is just the abilities of the potions once you've completed them. But really...
Yeah.
Most of the people I've played with and taught this game that aren't gamers at all could give 2 shits about the actual potions. They just like the marble,
right?
And trying to get as many marbles as they can. You know, and then because it's a competitive game, but it's super simple because they do all their marble picking up, and then you're like you can kind of point out, you know, well you put those all there and stuff and everything. It's I put it on here because it's only a gateway. I mean, it wouldn't really work if you aren't familiar with those games as much. I mean, you wouldn't like it as much, I don't think, because if you hadn't played any of those kind of games, you would just be like, okay, I'm going to pull a marble, and if these colors are... But if you're addicted to those iOS or...
whatever those types of genre games are called.
Then this is like... It's just second nature.
That's true.
Know how to do it. You know?
I wish what I had done is I wish I had thought I had and be like, okay, if you play this game, then this would lead to this, you know?
Right.
Or if you like Monopoly, you like this game.
Yep.
And we might do a list of that. I don't know what we'll call it, but that would be interesting.
Pathway games.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good one. I honestly forgot that game existed.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get... Like, it's not my favorite game in the world, but it's one that I can get non-gamers to play just because of that.
Yeah, I remember playing it, and I had fun while playing it, but I was like, all right. Like, because I don't play those games on app or anything. I did. There was you're not going to get this at all, but maybe someone might. There was an old school Nintendo 64 game where it was Pokemon, and you were playing like it was like the Tetris thing where it's not Tetris, but like you would start out with colored blocks and you have to swap them to try and get sets of 3, 4, 5, or 6. And you had Pokemon that would do like the Pokemon name, their sound, and you would play against another player. I was a whiz at that as a kid, so that game was cool. Don't remember what it was called, but all right. My number 6 is a game that I actually don't own. And we were talking about it earlier, and I was saying that I was like, oh, I want to get a version of this game. I just don't know which one. But my number 6 is Ticket to Ride. So, obviously, Ticket to Ride is on everyone's gateway list since top 10s have been invented, and for good reason. This is one of the it's like world renowned. Everyone knows there's 90 different versions from every country in the world that has a Ticket to Ride version. Because it's extremely simple. You have pathways for cards that are going to get you points. So you're trying to be like, okay, I want to get from here to here. If I complete that route, I'm going to get this many points. And then there's cards that you pick up to spend to place your trains along that route. And that's it. that's base game Ticket to Ride. Other versions add stations and things like that. But I remember kind of like what you just did with the game we played earlier that you'll most likely talk about later. Another friend did the exact same thing. He was like, "You've never played Ticket to Ride and you run a YouTube channel?" And he's like, "All right, we got it." So he brought it out. And I like it. Like I do want to own a copy. I just don't want base game.
Yeah, and I would say the base game's about how you'd have to do it as a gateway.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I mean, because Europe adds the connections, that's kind of confusing.
Yeah, there's like Markle, I think. Or
the Markland.
Markland.
Yeah, that one's pretty in depth. I've always thought I would like to have the anniversary edition with the fancy trains and stuff of just the base game and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have. And Ticket to Ride, once again, I mean, because you can block people, like, if you, because they can only go...
mean, if you
it can be mean, but you also run the risk if you're trying to get from LA all the way to New York for 25 points, and it's like, that's a pretty big chance that someone's going to get in my way. But yeah, Ticket to Ride's a really solid one. When I initially made this list a while back, it was at number 1. Just because, but I didn't want, I don't want to put it at number 1 just because it's like, oh, everyone knows it's a gateway, so it's immediately the best gateway.
Well, and they even have more gateway-y versions of it now. Like at Walmart, you see like the Ticket to Ride London, Ticket to Ride New York. That's cars, but they're like half the map size.
Oh, right.
And so they're super simple versions of it.
So, and I just think that these other games above it are better, and not really gateway-ier, but I just like them better. So that's my number 6, Ticket to Ride.
All right, my number 6 has been a game that's been on many of my lists over the years that we've been doing stuff, and it is kind of the originator of the micro game. It's 16 cards is all it is.
Yeah, and I knew this was going to be on
Love
your list.
Letter.
I thought this was actually going to be your number 1. Because you have 30 different, not 30 copies, because you run through them. So. You just throw them away, or you're like, well, that was a fun copy. Trying to buy another one.
They just get torched.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, but it's one of those that I guess maybe if I would have had a different art, because like it's hard to get that game. I like the original better than like the Lord of the Rings version or the Batman version and all that stuff that they have.
And the Lovecraft leather is more complex than the original.
But it's kind of boring looking.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've tried bringing it out at times, and everybody's like, love letter, like it kind of sounds, everything. And once I get them to play it, it's perfectly fine.
We're gonna write out our feelings, everyone. Grab your colored pencils.
But yeah, it's incredibly simple, and they even give you the card of, it tells you how many of each card there are, so you can kind of go down that way. Games don't take very long at all.
Yeah.
It was the micro game that started that whole trend.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many versions of it
right
now of different odds and ends, but the original is the best one, I think. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I can say about it. It's just it's super simple. 16 cards is it.
Yeah.
Your hands fly by once everybody. If you're the last,
you only
person
have
with the
2 cards
in
your hand. Yeah.
Yeah, you draw one, play one. Draw one, play one, and then if you're the last person with the card in your hand at the end, you win.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the game is, and I mean, what's great about Love Letter is that it's extremely, extremely simple to learn, but there's some strategy in there that you can think. It's like, okay, if they have the princess and then they have whatever's underneath them, it's like, okay, they have to discard this card. But what if it's some mind games, it's like, okay, do they have the princess? Okay, I'm going to play the guard, next turn to guess, and it's like, oh, okay. So it does have a little bit of depth to it, and like you said, it had the numbers of each, so you can kind of look through the discard pile or what they've played and be like, okay, so what can they possibly have? You can do a little bit of deduction, but
you're not supposed to look back into the play pile either.
Well, they stay in front of them, right?
No.
Oh, I thought
there's only one card that'll stay at handmade,
and
it goes away on your next turn. But anytime you play them, they go. After you play it, it goes into the pile, the discard pile.
Gotcha.
But you're not. That's you can't look through the discard pile.
Gotcha.
It's just a way
to cheating.
It's just a way to so that you don't.
Well, then why give the numbers of the cards then?
Well, I mean, it's just such a simple. Like if you have a guard and you're like, there's 2 princes in the deal. How many princes have been played?
Right.
So it's like you need to pay attention.
Yeah. And remember.
Right.
7 cards in
I mean, they had to do something to keep, because it's 16 cards.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to do something to kind of keep it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that's a good one. That's a good one. My number 5 is a game that I was shown many years ago at this point, and the way it's set, like the name of the game, I was like, really, that's gonna sound really dumb, but then really, really liked it, and that was Bullfrogs.
I haven't played that one.
It's a good one. This is kind of like how you were saying these games can lead to other bigger aspects. This is a very simple card game that's area control. So you have bullfrogs in front of you, and there's lily pads out on the table, and you play a card that allows you to place a certain number of your bullfrogs on a spot. And then what's really neat is that whenever a lily pad is full, like there's no more spots. Whoever has the most there will get the card. But before you do that, then everyone has to jump off, and everyone besides you has to jump off to, adjacent lily pads. And then there's big toads that are worth like 3 points, or 3 strength for that spot. But whenever the lily pad sinks, if they can't jump off, they sink. All your other little frogs actually come back. And then, you're just trying to collect the cards. And once, there's people can't play, like once, I can't remember how the game specifically ends. But I know once the game does end, then you add up the score value of all your, the cards that you've collected. And that's it. The reason why it's on this list is because it's extremely simple and also teaches area control, where I cannot think of a lot of simple games that teach that, besides any type of war game or anything that's going to have some type of complexity to any area control mechanic. And
Checkers.
check your chess. Risk. I mean, Risk. Yeah, that could be a gateway, I guess. So I also really like the theme. I think that it's like, oh, this is cute. Like, so people can get into it, unless they're like, we're not really frogs. But I enjoy it quite a bit and have had multiple successes. And it also works really for any number of players. 2, 3, I think goes up to 4. So, yeah, that's my number 5, Bullfrogs.
All right, my number 5 is I put the series of this game because they're all the same game, just different versions of history. And it's the Timeline series. I don't know if you...
I haven't.
They're the little square tins. They come with a deck of the little mini cards.
Yeah.
And all this game is... you can choose American history, world history, whatever.
This is a history one.
But what you do is you start the game with, depending on how many players are, let's say you have 5 cards to start the deal. And it's like the invention of paper, the invention of the nuclear weapons. There's all this stuff throughout history, and when it's your turn, you play a card down. And then when it's the next person's turn, they have to play a card either before or after that one and get the date right, because the dates, you don't get to see the dates on the other one until it's down. So when you put the card down, you flip it over and it has the date. And if it's correct, then it's out of your hand and you're good. If you get it wrong, then you have to draw another card.
Oh,
and then put it in. So you're trying to get your card.
Okay, I was like, is this a cooperative game?
It's trying to get your hand empty.
I see.
And it gets really tough because if you have, 2 dates that are within a couple of years apart, and you're getting all this stuff, and then you have like, oh God, where does this go? Because you can put it in between cards too if you think it goes between. And it's fun,
that sounds...
It goes from Stone Age all the way to present day on stuff, and it's
just be horrible.
Well,
I'm
super
so
simple.
bad with history.
Well, and that's the thing. You don't have to be good with it. It's just fun.
You do, because
it's
you
just
have to win.
Because it really is meaningless.
Yeah.
You just kind of play. There's a version of it called Card Line that is animals, and you can choose. Okay, do we want to go by size of the animals? Do we want to go by the height, the speed of the animal? Like,
penis.
You can do it, but I chose the Timeline ones just because they're more popular, and there's several of those out.
Because you mentioned the 2, you're like, invention of paper, and I'm like, oh no, I don't know.
But it's funny to see how far you're off. Like, it's hilarious because my girls loved it because they would just take a shot in the dark sometimes, or they'd make fun of me and Amy if we picked something that was 50 years off or 100 years off, or whatever. Because the art is the same. Like, it's not like, the stuff for really old, like BC times and current deals. The art's kind of this.
Oh, so because it'd be a giveaway if it was old. Okay,
right. So it kind of just makes it kind of tricky that way.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that pick. It sounds hard for people like me who is not really interested in history all that much. All right, my number 4 is our first crossover. Kind of. You didn't pick this version like I thought you would.
Forbidden Desert?
Forbidden Desert is the one I picked. Only because I haven't played Island.
Yeah.
So Forbidden Desert, I think, is kind of like what you're talking about. Is a really good gateway. Just because, kind of like Pandemic, it's very hard to win, but super simple to learn. Because even when it comes to the movement of the Eye of the Storm, it's just like you draw a card, and the person owning the game can be the one to manage it. So any other new player wouldn't have to worry about it. So it's like, okay, I'm going to draw that. Okay, it's going to move up twice. So that means this is going up. And, all right, that's that. And then you add more sand. And all they have to do is read their action card. And, okay, I can do 2 actions from this. And even whenever it comes down to, all right, well, the grid of like, okay, so the propeller is here and here. The person can easily look at that and be like, all right, it goes here. We need to go and pick that up.
Right.
I do think it's an extremely simple game. Like I said, Island is probably the better choice of the two, but I haven't personally played it, so that's why I picked Forbidden Desert. And if you are wanting something more advanced, play Forbidden Sky, because it's really good. So that's my number 4, Forbidden Desert.
All right. My number 4 is a game that I've used at the school, or let my daughters bring it for their deal, and then teachers have actually bought it to have, because it's a critical thinking game a little bit. And it's called Suro. I don't know if you know that one or not.
No, not at all.
It's called Suro, the Path of the Dragons, I think is the sub.
But
pretty much all it is you have these little stones
that
are like on the outside, and you have these tiles that have lines on them. And when it's your turn, you play a tile next that's going to make your thing move. So if you play one, as soon as you place the tile,
that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any of the stones that would be touching that automatically move as far as they can. Your goal is to not run into anybody.
Okay.
Or to not go off the board. Eventually, because it's not a very big grid, and then when people are putting these down, it's like you could play it and it's going to take you all around. You may do spins and go all the way, and you have to really make sure, okay, is this going to send me off the board? Because you can make other people go off the board. Because if there's a blank spot and you put something here, they're going to have to move too, along with you.
Gotcha.
And you may play something you know is going to kick them off the board. Super simple.
Yeah.
Game may take 5-10 minutes. We played so many games of it, and anybody I've showed it to, like all the teachers, like because my girls were both in the gifted stuff, and they loved it because I let them bring it, and they all bought it, and it's just it's an abstract game, but it's neat because when you open it up, it's got like an actual piece of like rice paper, paper on it, and everything, and it's really it looks very Asian.
Yeah. I've seen that cover, and I was like, I have no idea what that's about.
I need to bring it sometime because it's super.
I think I would like it. That does sound pretty interesting.
And there's one that's a little more complex called Suro of the Seas.
Oh yeah,
and it's a blue box, and it has a big sea monster that moves around and interferes and stuff too on the board. But
cool.
Suro itself, there's even an free app that you can download.
Oh, okay.
You can just play it on that.
Yeah, I'll probably get that. That does sound fun.
But yeah, Suro, it's always been a really good, simple, fun game.
That's a good one. All right, my number 3 is from. It has a long line of different versions of this game. Me personally, I picked this one because it involves less people, and that is Codenames Duet. So I tried to very much stay away from party games, like Wits and Wagers,
yes.
I mean, I would even kind of consider Mysterium almost a party game a little bit. So I was like. Okay, but Codenames, especially Duet, it's a 2-player game, so it doesn't really count for a party. So there we go.
Yeah.
Unless you're having a party of 2, which is but yeah, Codenames is I love Codenames Duet, where you have a grid or a set of 25 cards, and you have one card that you put in a stand that shows on your side. What cards you're supposed to give clues to your partner, and then they have cards for them, and then you're both working together trying to actually get all the number of clues to win unless you find the spy or the run out of like chances, because there's like a stack of tokens that is like your timer, and really all you do is you sit there and you have to get into the mind of the person you're playing with and think, okay, well, I have sand, hourglass, and that's it. And you can be like time 2 or glass 2, and you just give them a 1-word clue, and how many of your clues that you have to give to them match that 1-word clue. And Codenames, the regular Codenames, is exactly like that, except there's teams involved. So yeah, like that's I mean, almost as gateway as you can get it. It's kind of a word game, I guess.
They have the pictures one too.
They have the pictures one. That just sounds so weird. They have a Harry Potter one. They have a Marvel one. They have a Disney one.
Yeah.
They have
an After Dark one.
Do they really?
Yeah. I've seen it at Target before. I don't know how it gets, but
Juices 10. That's all of them. Yep. It fits every single card. I'm not going to say anything else. STI. Can I say that? Can you use acronyms? That's funny. I was about to say that as a joke, and then you said it.
Nope, it's a thing.
All right. Well, there's that version. But yeah, the Codenames Duet, because it's Gateway, it's a simple card game. Anyone can think of clues. The only thing that makes it hard is trying to come up with the one-word clue to match multiples, and also think of what your partner might take it as, and I love it. So that's my number 3. Codenames
It's a good
Duet.
choice. I've only played it with my family. None of them liked it, so I only played the original Codenames like once or twice.
Gotcha.
I never.
Yeah, and Codenames Duet you can't play because you can't play cooperative games at your house. I see why you play solo games a lot.
Are solo.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I see why you play solo games a lot. I need to talk to your wife and be like, "Are you okay?"
No, she just likes to. She's competitive. She's more competitive.
I mean, so am I, but I love cooperative games too. I'm probably more
know.
competitive than I am cooperative. Luckily, Kat loves cooperative games, so it works out. We have a better relationship.
My number 3 is
it's our 6 years versus your guys' 20 or something. 20. Yeah.
Next year will be 20. We're 19.
Yeah, it's like I think we got it figured out.
My number 3 was the inevitable pick on this, and that's King of Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
We played it earlier, and he didn't care for it.
It's not for me. But I will say, everything you're about to say, I do agree with.
Yeah.
I can't. I find it hard to get into. It might have also. It's always like weird situations because we had just got done playing Sorcerer. We just got done playing Street Masters. So I had that tactical mindset, and then we go to this, and it's just rolling dice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I can go into. I have to. It's not bad.
That copy has been played quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's one of those. We have these deals at school that are like a monthly, like a board game thing, and I kind of run it in my room.
Okay.
And that's one. I tell them, okay, do this, where you read to roll it and everything, and they just go crazy for it and everything. Yeah. And there is a little more gamery version of it, but it's not as good. I mean, that one will always be better because it's just so simple. Mm-hmm. I mean, like so simple.
Yeah,
you roll the dice, you either attack, you get, it's
that's it.
And that game that we played was actually longer than it normally lasts.
Oh God!
Well, because me and Kat were just going back and forth there for a while. It's like
I played a nuke card, and I was like, "Oh man, they'll probably die." And then I forgot that you can heal, and so I was like, "Oh wow, I'll kill them before they kill me." And then you healed, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you can do that."
Yeah,
and then I was just getting fucking.
It's incredibly fun to play when you're drunk.
Oh, too, sure. Anything's fun when you're drunk.
So anyway, King of Tokyo, I mean...
We can play that Codenames After Dark when we're drunk, see where the night goes.
King of Tokyo, it's one of those that, I mean, you had to play it. You know now.
Yeah, I do.
Like anybody that's in the hobby has played or should have it played, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those staple ones that...
Yeah, absolutely.
With the power-up expansion, but even with that, as a gateway... The power expansion.
I feel like you can throw that in because it's not like I thought they were a hand of cards that you got to play from hearing about it, but nope. It's just hey, if you get 3 hearts, you get to draw a card, and you have that. Yeah. It's like it doesn't even count really. But yeah, Kat obviously really liked it. I think she was at like 17 victory points.
Yeah, she was close. If I wouldn't have killed her.
Yeah, it's like I really wish she didn't have victory points. It's like why? No one's going for that. No one's getting it. Because everyone's gonna die before then.
But yeah, King of Tokyo, it's really better with even more people. It maxes out at 6. It just gets really crazy because then if you're in Tokyo, it is very scary being in Tokyo because then you have 5. If you try to stay in there, you have 5 people attacking attacking you.
So what's the boat do? Or the
Tokyo Bay?
Yeah,
it's a secondary place that you can go. It's I don't play. I'm not exactly 100% sure how it goes. You get victory. You get 1 victory point for standing there, 2 for up there, and I think you can choose who the
Gotcha.
attack goes to, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I haven't played. Most of the time it's played because I play it 4-player.
Oh, you
most
never
of the
got
time.
it? Yeah.
I've only done 5 or 6 once.
Okay.
But it has something to do with you can choose which 2 it goes after or something like that. You just get more points for being in Tokyo City.
Gotcha. Yeah. I totally get why people say it's a good gateway game. Totally agree. All right, my number 2 is our second crossover, or it's technically our first, but I'm counting Forbidden Desert. So it's our second crossover.
Love Letter?
Love Letter. Yep. Okay. Everything you said about it, I just think it fits a little bit more, in my opinion, as a gateway, because it is only 16 cards, and it's not even 16 individual cards. There's a lot of duplicates. So you look at your little sheet and you're like, okay, guard, you pick you guess a card that's in someone's hand. All right, if you get it, they're out. That's it. This game is really good.
So fast.
It's also really fast.
If you get knocked out, you just sit there and a hand will be done in no time.
Yeah.
And max is at 4 players, so it doesn't take. You know.
I think it actually works pretty well at 2, 3, and 4. It's so you also have that as an option for a gateway. So that's really all I can say. I mean, if you do want something more complex, get Lovecraft Letter. That adds more, but still keeps it relatively the same.
Well, or if you get the premium edition of Love Letter, it brings in it has all these extra rolls.
Oh,
you can substitute rolls out with different abilities.
Okay.
It has the same kind of whole same kind of box, like the Cthulhu one.
Oh, nice.
The tarot size cards, the big cards, and all that stuff.
Cool.
It just adds more rolls, like the not princess, but like the prince is something different.
Okay.
And stuff, you just substitute them.
Neat. So there you go. Yep, that's my number 2, Love Letter.
My number 2 is a crossover.
Ticket to Ride?
Yep.
Okay.
Ticket to Ride. It was one of the first games I had in my collection, just because that was like when I was starting my collection way back in the day. I was like, okay, what's some good games to start with? And a friend of mine's like, start with Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
Catan, all that stuff. I don't like Catan.
So I don't really care for it either.
But anyway, those are some of the ones I started with. And Ticket to Ride is just simple. Especially, I mean, the very, very base game. You're just getting your trains out on deals. You're connecting cities, and
that's it. That's really it.
The scoring's probably the trickiest part at the very end when you're counting who has the longest deal and stuff. But
that's almost like a visual thing. You can look and be like, okay, they have the longest.
Yeah. So I mean, it's the prototypical. It's going to be on every gateway list.
I think so.
It's an evergreen that'll
the reason why if it's not on a gateway list is because they intentionally left it off because they didn't want it to put it on another gateway list. But you have to mention it. You can't not talk about Ticket to Ride and a gateway games list. Awesome. So I was right. 3. Technically 2, but all right. My number 1. You have any guess? I will give you 2 hints. You haven't played it. You own it.
I haven't played. Oh, I know. Tiny Towns.
Tiny Towns is my number 1 gateway game. And funny enough, you mentioned a game on your list that actually follows the same concept. Karuba. Tiny Towns does the exact same thing, which I never considered as like a bingo mechanic. So in Tiny Towns, you have I think it's a 5x5. It might be a 4x4 little grid, and you have these buildings. I think there's maybe like seven buildings out in the middle, and they all have different ways to score. But there's like all of them are so simple in figuring it out that really all you do on your turn, and they have a Tetris style grid thing. Like so, the cottage is a 2x2 square with these particular resources. All you do on your turn is you say, okay. You pick a resource, and then everyone has to take that resource and then place it somewhere, anywhere, on their little 16 by 16, 4x4 spot. So you're trying to build something, and then you're using that to combine with one of the other cards out there to get the most points by the end. Any empty spots are -1 point, and that's it. But this game just... it's so good. It's puzzly, kind of like what I was saying with Karuba, where it's like, okay, I really need dirt. Wheat! Fuck! I don't know where to put that! But you can try and make it work, and I'm sure Karuba doesn't have anything like this, but in tiny towns, there's usually a building that allows you to mitigate what someone else is calling. If it's like one that we played the other day was like, I think it was like the museum because it came with an expansion. When you build it, you got to take 2 cubes from the path, and then you could exchange. Oh, if someone calls glass and you have a glass, you can get rid of it. The expansion makes it actually a little bit more complex. I think it adds money, which is kind of hilarious because as soon as you add capitalism, it just kind of made the game even more complex, and you're like, great. But yeah, I love tiny towns. This was kind of my. It's obviously, I would think, a little bit more complex than Love Letter or something, especially Codenames Duet. But this, out of all games on here, Tiny Towns is probably my favorite. So I was like, okay, Gateway and my favorite, so it's gonna go to number 1.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number 1.
Good deal. My number 1 is the oldest game on either one of ours lists.
All right. Chess.
No, it's not that
Uno.
old. No. I think you've played it. I would hope you have. And it's Carcassonne.
Oh, okay. I have only played it as an app.
Yeah. This was a very early game for me.
Yeah.
And now I own the big box, and I have just tons of tiles everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Now some of the expansions obviously make it more stuff, but if you're talking base game Carcassonne, the trickiest part is the farmland part.
Yeah, that is a little weird.
But I've actually, when I've taught this game, we didn't even worry about the farming part.
Okay.
You just played without that deal. You know, you're pretty much, you're drawing a tile, you place a tile, and then you place a meeple, worker. You know, and you can it's the creation. There's something about creating your area, you know, and
because everyone you build, you don't just build your own, right? Everyone adds on to
but
one
I mean,
big
you
thing.
kind of stay. I mean, I know you kind of, because what you do is you get points for being in a town. You know, if you have your meeples in a town and it's a huge town, you get all these points multiply. You know, and it's just, there's been games built upon this. You know. Excuse me. Isle of Skye uses like those same kind of tiles. Karuba has those, you know, those little 1.5-inch tiles with paths on them and buildings and stuff. But it's just the building of stuff. It's so simple, and you can make it as complex as your group wants it to be. It's still simple. I mean, even with the expansions, it's easy, but you're just laying the tiles and building your cities, you know.
That's true. Yeah, that's a really good one because an ex-coworker of mine, he would always ask me about games, and I'm like, well, what do you play? And he's like, well, we play Carcassonne, him and his girlfriend. That's all they play. They play like all the time. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're like Carcassonne, you're like this, and they slowly like add in one expansion, and whenever they play that forever, and then whenever they want to play another expansion, they take that expansion out and put the new one in. So yeah, that's a perfect example. I didn't even think of Carcassonne. That would have been a really good one.
2000. It was the
oldest one. And there's a bunch of different versions of Carcassonne too, right?
Oh, there's tons.
Yeah, it's
the big box had
been beat to death.
Yeah, I think of the newer ones, the Amazonas one.
That sounds about right. Yeah,
is the better of the newer ones.
Yeah. All right. That was our top 10 gateway games. Let us know what gateway games you like in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.